Hey everybody, I'm Tommy. Welcome to the Love Boat. How are you? Well, folks, this is going to be a barn burner. I hope you got your notepads because I'm going to go quick. And we're going to talk about a lot of important stuff. But before I get rolling, we'll just start with the really obvious. Anytime something like this happens, like the Charlie Kirk assassination, we're Americans, and we've been lied to about so many things by our government. Hey, David, good to see you. Sonny, I'm glad you're here. Susie, Jamie Palmer, what's happening? Archie's mom, Just Joan. Good to have you here. Hey, John, what are you doing, brother? Good to see you. That's right, from the train to the boat. So when something like this happens, what we end up with is a lot of people that go, I don't believe the story. And it doesn't matter what the story is, because there was a lot of stuff concerning that grassy knoll. Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. John, good to have you here. Glad you are here. B-Lady, there you are. Kristen Melinda, good to see you. So there's a lot of people out there that are really grabbing a hold of this as they're not the ones that did this, right? This isn't how it really went down. I am Charlene, good to see you. Meredith Wynn, glad to have you here. Monk. Just watching the Blair, I thought you were going to say Blair Witch Trail. Watching Blair White and Buck Angel, brother. Good for you, brother. Happy about it. Jane Aldrich, glad you're here. Got your notepad, that's good. My nose, I have been sick for 2 days. Not sick. When I step outside of the place, the air conditioner's not on and my nose doesn't run. But when I'm in here, it's like a faucet. It drives me insane. Audra, I'm glad you're here. Tommy Bird, good to see you. You're going to hear a lot of people tell you that he got shot from not from the roof. This is gaining a lot of traction. That he got shot from the scaffolding area and that the bullet did not enter his neck, that was an exit wound, and that the bullet actually hit him on the right side of the head. And you're going to see some video that's going to make you wonder. Debbie Zito, good to see you. That is going to make you wonder, hey, Audra, if this is actually what happened. You need to be really careful. Take this from a guy that covered the Sean Diddy Combs trial for a hot minute. Information is going to come out at a rate that is unbelievable. And you will see videos that I promise you are going to try to convince you. Roger, welcome. First time here. How cool is that, man? How cool is that? You got to be really careful when you watch this stuff. I'm going to say something right now that I'm not terribly proud of, but I don't trust the government any more than anyone else does at this point, about a 7% rate, I think. What we end up with is a sad admission that on the day of this shooting, when that footage was still out there, a lot of it has been purged from the internet. I watched that stuff frame by frame, and the bullet didn't catch him the way anybody's talking about. In my humble opinion, watching it literally frame by frame, which was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done. I'm certainly not going to show it here. Or it was a neck shot from a ricochet on a vest on his chest. It absolutely was, Jamie Palmer. You can see this thing. And what happens is, and I'm not trying to be brutal. I promise you I'm not. But a 30-06 is an unbelievably large caliber of rifle. This has a ton of black powder that is going to fire that thing out. And it's a heavy bullet. And when it hits somebody in the chest, you see him recoil is what you see. And the hair probably moves from wind or anything else, but it goes up. And I don't buy any of these conspiracy theories. And that doesn't mean that they're not true. But the fact that somebody says they're true is a problem. The very interesting study was done in 1995. And this will make sense to a lot of you. Will, good to see you, brother. Glad you're here. Hey, Solo from New York. I love it. So here's the deal. There were two guys. One of them's name was David Dunning, I believe, and the other one's name was Justin-Kruger. And they came up with something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, let me explain what this is really quickly. It's kind of fascinating because there was a guy named MacArthur Wheeler, right? And MacArthur Wheeler was a bank robber. Can't trust those people. He was a bank robber. He went at it a little differently than I did. He had an idea that if he covered himself with lemon juice, right? Just covered himself with lemon juice, you weren't going to be able to see him on a security camera. Fully convinced of his invisibility to cameras, he walked in and robbed 2 banks in one day. And then he casually went home with the cash, only to be literally shocked hours later when the police came and arrested him. And his response to the first officer on the scene was, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "You're under arrest for bank robbery." He said, I put the lemon juice on. I'm not playing, folks. So it got these guys doing a study, and the Dunning-Kruger effect was born. And what this means is there are people who don't know enough about a subject. Now I'm paraphrasing and making this very simplified because it makes sense. But it's a lot of people out there in the world who don't have enough knowledge to realize that they don't have enough knowledge. If you have so little working knowledge of a subject matter, you may not realize that you know nothing about it. The gentleman that shot Charlie Kirk, I do believe that that's the shooter. I think there's a lot we still need to hear. You know, there was the research that I'm doing that I can actually nail down is that there were so many Discord servers that disappeared that day. There were so many chat rooms that disappeared that day. Some of them right before the shooting, some of them right after the shooting. That will, yeah, Mike Bragg says a 30-06 will travel 200 yards like you can throw a baseball across the street. Yeah, in fact, it can travel that fast like a pitcher from the from the big leagues can throw a ball across the street. It is a vicious weapon. And the fact remains, and the terrifying thing is that that young man was radicalized in one way or another. And when we were younger, everybody's heard this. I don't like the people you're hanging out with, right? Did you ever hear mom and dad say that? Good Lord. Where I grew up, we used to hang out on the village green, right? The very, very small town, and the road would go like this and split when it got to the village green. And it was probably 2 acres of grass and trees in the middle of town. And you could sit on the railing. And the kids that sat on the railing on the green usually smoked pot, drank beer. They were the bad kids. And my mother would say, you're hanging out with those people that hang out on the green. Now you don't know where your kids are hanging out because they can do it on a computer screen. They can do it on their phone. And radicalization has happened with the people on the extremes in the terrorist community. This has been a tool for a very long time because if you get people who are disenfranchised at young ages, people that don't feel like the system works for them, it doesn't take a whole lot to push a 17 to a 19-year-old kid from being really normal, like straight A student, everything is good, to somebody that's ready to shoot somebody because their boyfriend, who's pretending to be a girl, right, or living as a girl, I almost said it. The living as a girl, whatever you want to do, right? Whatever you want to do. But because he was dating somebody who was transgendered, he started to look into politics, Dunning-Kruger style. He never actually heard what Charlie Kirk said about anything. He heard people tell him what Charlie Kirk said. And I know this for a lot of reasons, one of which happens to be that I have said, I want people to come on here and talk to me about this. If you disagree with me, just come on here, let's talk. 2 people have reached out to me. Neither of them are willing to come on here, but I had a conversation with one of them. And I have never in my life met anybody that had less information on a subject that they wanted to argue than this cat. The first 3 things he said, I had already heard from 40 people. And I said, I can demonstrate to you what article launched this BS and what day that same newspaper had to print a retraction. We'll just go through it right now. Do you think they wanted to listen to that? Literally. This cat's not going to let me say that. He's going to tell me that I'm a racist and I'm a homophobe. Again, I don't care what you sleep with as long as it's consensual. I don't care, right? If it's above age, it's not, illegal. You do what you do. Even if you want to be a furry, which apparently this kid was into, and I honestly can't tell you what a furry is. That's a rabbit hole I don't really want to go down. Jules Mark Davis, good to see you. But here's where we start getting into some very serious problems. I've been saying, my brother's been saying, a lot of people have been saying, there's a fight going on here that has nothing to do with political parties at this point. This is a fight against good versus evil. There are people with incredible amounts of money that want to see America fail. And you'd go, why would that be? Like, these are Americans. Why would they want to see the country fail? Because the new version of it will be run by corporations, not by businesses. And that is very appealing to a lot of people on this planet. So we're going to talk about something that's absolutely going to get me demonetized, and I don't give a snot. We're going to talk about woke, right? Familiar with the concept of what woke is? So woke started long before it got hijacked, and it was a concept that was actually a pretty cool thing. It was kind of that, you know what, wake up and kind of let people live. It sounded libertarian almost in the beginning. If a person wants to be gay and live that way, who cares? If a person wants to be transgender and live that way, who cares, right? Who cares about any of that? That's not what woke has become. What they've done with woke is they have put us into categories that are so small. For instance, who do you sleep with, right? What color is your skin? Did you believe that you should take the vaccine or not take the vaccine? How do you feel about gun control? Talk to me about abortion. All of these things make us into categories. So now you don't have to think. because your team is right. Hollywood says so. The press says so. You don't have to, in any way, shape, or form, learn why it is you believe what you do, because everybody who's famous believes this, right? They all go to these huge gala dinners. Every time you see a star, they trash the president of the United States if he happens to be a Republican. Hollywood turns out movies that are never pro-America anymore, right? You're not going to make a Rambo film these days or anything where, the American side wins. That's out. We don't do that anymore, right? We don't do the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't talk about American exceptionalism. None of these things happen anymore. The design is to break us into small groups so that they can divide us. Because when you divide people that much, blacks begin to fight whites, right? Blacks and whites who got along earlier now start fighting each other, right? Yeah, the Free Palestine thing. Yeah, no, but you know something? I'll talk about that really quickly. Free Palestine. Thank you for coming in and telling me your opinion without having, anything but the opinion. I'd love to talk to you about that. Send me an email. You can come on the show and you and I will talk about Palestine and Israel. And I'll tell you something. I love the Jews. I'm not a big fan of the Israeli government. I'll tell you that right now. But go ahead and shoot it. Free speech. Yeah, you're a genius. This isn't productive. But this is what most of the people they know they're on the right side. So why do I have to learn why I'm saying the things that I'm saying? Huh? Pepperhead says there are two genders. Prove me wrong, please. Yeah, that's a tough one because you can't prove that wrong. You quite simply can't. Now, doesn't mean that I don't have a problem with someone living as a third gender. When you tell me there's 37 of them, you're an ass. And I want to tell you something else that's fascinating. You can do a little bit of research, and I do mean a little bit of research, and find out what happened with the whole pronoun thing, right? The pronoun thing was, are you going to call me sir or are you going to call me miss? Because if I'm living as a woman, you need to call me miss. Okay. I don't have a problem with that. You want me to call you that? That's fine. No, you're going to call me they, them. This started as a joke on a conservative platform. They said, how long before we have neo pronouns? This started as a joke. They took it and ran with it because we keep making ourselves into smaller groups. And you know what's the best part of this? Those small groups are offended by everything. Everything. I saw a great clip of film of a person that went in to get their hair cut. And the person getting ready to cut their hair said, is it okay if I touch you? No, I came in here to get my freaking hair cut and I don't want you to touch me. This is what we've become? I'm going to a hairdresser. I go to see a doctor and he has to go, can I touch you? Yeah, we're doing an exam. I figure you're going to grab my junk and do everything else. That's part of an exam. How did we get here? By design. By design. None of this is an accident. And if you don't believe that evil and good are fighting one another, I can read you a list right here. Let's see. We've got 58 Democrats who voted against the Charlie Kirk bill on the floor of the House of Representatives. 58 Democrats who voted against. A couple of names on here probably jump out at you. Ilhan Omar, go figure, right? Ocasio-Cortez, go figure, right? Now, 38 Democrats also voted just present. I'm not going to vote. That's half of the Democratic caucus in the House of Representatives. This isn't a small crew. This is half of them. It didn't say we want to put a bill out that says Charlie Kirk was a great human being. It's not what it said. It said we want to put a bill out that says we, across the board, are advocating for no political violence in light of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And half of the Democrats don't think that's a good thing to vote for. I hope you guys get absolutely butchered the next time that there is an election. I will vote from here legally, and I promise you, I'm going out of my way, right, to make sure that any of the asshats on this list don't get reelected. Because these aren't good people. You catch that? They're bad people. This is a battle of good and evil. And I'm not saying that, I don't want them dead. I want them out of office, right? What they're doing is abhorrent. The fact that people celebrate this. You guys know what Roblox is or whatever they call that? This is a place where you can go and design your own little games and everybody can kind of come and play them. And they had to take down games for kids that were based on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's an actual headline. I literally chased it down. What kind of human being builds that and puts it up? And the answer to that is people who have a Dunning-Kruger effect that believe that their side is so right that they don't need to hear a freaking thing about why their side is right. Some asshat last night and sent me an email that said, you do realize that the only reason you're Christian is because you were born here. Had you been born overseas, you'd be a Muslim. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I read the Quran. I was looking. I was happy. I would have been happy to be that if that spoke to me. I read every religious text you could. That's not a Dunning-Kruger effect. You understand? I don't do that with anything. If I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to research the snot out of it, and I'm going to get good at it. Woke is a cancer, and it is a cancer by design. And I'll tell you something. I think that there's an excellent chance that when this is all said and done, we're going to find out that there were some people that did everything they can to radicalize people in hopes of making this thing happen. Charlie Kirk is the biggest threat that the left had ever seen. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then you're not paying attention. This was a guy who had Rush Limbaugh skills, right? Who stayed on 32 years, 3 hours a day. But he was going to college campuses, which are the indoctrination centers of the United States of America. Hello, Ann. I heard people are getting tattoos to celebrate Charlie's murder. You know what, Ann? I'm glad. I'm glad. If you're going to be that person, that's who you want to be, put that crap on your arm so I can see you coming. For real. And I don't mean I'm going to beat you to death. I'm a little past that phase in my life. But I sure as hell am not going to have a conversation with you because you can't have one. I'm open to dialogue. Come tell me why I'm wrong. The thing is, you can't do that if all you know is I'm wrong. This is the world we live in. I talk about the echo chamber all the time. When you take this effect of low information people who aren't smart enough to realize they're dumb, that's literally what this is. They know just enough information, right? I think it was Mark Twain had a quote, and I'll probably misquote it, but it was something along the lines of, it's not the stuff that you do wrong. It's the stuff that you do that you think is right that turn out to be wrong. We can become so invested in something. I did it with Diddy. And when I saw the first videos of these guys talking about a shooter in another place, the first place my heart went was, oh my God, it's a conspiracy. And then I started looking at it. And then I started researching it. Do you remember the guy doing the signals with the hat? Watch that from another camera angle. He's on his phone. He's talking to his family. Now, you can't see it from the front because there's a back in front of him. But he's doing this stuff, right? For all we know, his wife said, hey, you got something on your nose. You're not giving signals while talking to your wife on Skype. He also happens to be a member of that team that's been around forever. He spoke at Charlie's funeral. All of these conspiracies don't hold weight yet. But the people in power didn't want this man rocking what they have owned for 30 years, which is the media. Charlie Kirk was making a difference. People call him a Christian nationalist. There's all these terms that people are getting thrown around. And you know what? Life would really suck if everybody said, yeah, you know what? The good book, maybe we should apply a little of that, right? Because all of the stuff about, the Bible says this or that, every asshat that says that to me has never read the Bible. Never. Because I'll say to him, really, what book was that in? Right? Help me out. What book was that in? A little bit of knowledge is a terrifying thing, especially if the person that's giving you the knowledge has an agenda to try to misinform you. They didn't want Charlie Kirk to even have a bill that said what happened to him was wrong, and we have to, as a chamber, say this isn't okay. Half of them went, screw that. That man talked bad about us. He deserved to die. That vote means nothing other than he deserved to die. And if you don't see that, you're an ignoramus. I'm sorry. Well, explain that vote to me some other way. Why do you vote present or vote against? It had no teeth. There wasn't something on there that said, and because of this, here's what we're going to do. It was what they call in the House a symbolic gesture. It could have shown unity to the world. Yeah, we don't agree with Charlie Kirk, but every single person in this house believes that political violence is wrong. So if you read any kind of studies, you know what you're going to find out? You're going to find out that they're saying 30% of Americans believe that it's okay to kill somebody if you don't agree with what they say. It was 25 a couple of days ago. They're saying now in the press it's 30 or whatever. 50% of the Democrats in the House believe that. I wonder why people on the street do. This isn't about politics anymore. They all suck. I don't have any love for the right. I don't. Sorry. But the message of the right is fantastic. It's a message of love. Charlie Kirk's widow got up at the funeral and said, I forgive that man. Now, there are cynics who are going to go, she doesn't forgive him. She wishes he was dead. That's her heart. I promise. Maybe don't judge that. But for her to get up and say, I forgive that person, the people in the house can't say, I can suspend my hate for this man long enough to put a check mark on this yes vote. They couldn't afford to let Charlie Kirk continue to do what he was doing, which was making a difference. And he wasn't making a difference in politics. He was making a difference in the fight between good and evil. He was calling out wokeism for what it is, an absolute plan to destroy the United States of America. Plain and simple. Make it so that you can't have a conversation with anybody. Hey, excuse me, sir. I'm not a sir. That's it. We're done, right? Take it easy. There are 50 million videos you can find on TikTok of people freaking out because somebody at work screwed up my pronouns. I've told them 5 times I'm they, them. Are you shitting me? We got to call a human being they. What the hell happened? I'm sorry, people. I'm not sorry. This is a battle of good and evil, and you're going to choose sides, and I'm going to let you make it really easy tonight, right? Easy. You say, what do we do, though? Is that what we could do? No, there is. We'll make it easy. Jimmy Kimmel's going back on ABC News with a 1.6% market share, and ABC, and death threats, right? There are people freaking out. There's a lot of people really angry, and they're putting him back on with a 1.6 market share, which means they're losing their ass to put this guy back on. Why? Because they have an agenda. Because it's an agenda. It's not a show. And I have said on this program 500 times, there is nothing on earth less likely than me putting a needle in my arm again. I'm a recovering heroin addict. I can't say that anymore. There's a better chance of me putting a needle in my arm than me turning on ABC again before I leave this planet. They don't line up with what I believe. You could put this weasel back on the air as a form of protest to say, yeah, we're pretty happy Charlie Kirk died. What other message are you getting out of that? His numbers are abysmal, right? You can do math on this. Anybody that came before him got fired long before they hit 1.6 market share. 80 million people voted for against Trump. 80 million people. He can get 1 million of those 80. That's 1/80th of the audience that should be gung-ho, but he's not funny, right? The show's not funny anymore. I'm also so tired of the political clips, partial quotes, and flat out false things being used by the latest media. It does so much harm to the country. Yeah, it does. But that's the goal. They want the dollar gone, and they want the USA to collapse because they really want to move to one world government. And I'm not going to make this about preaching, but if it's going to happen, I'll do that. It's going to happen. Yeah, Johnny will do that. You can do that on the train. Johnny's becoming a minister. The truth of the matter is it has to happen. But being aware of it is probably a really good thing. And also calling out evil where it lies. And I'm not asking you to go get into fistfights. I'm not. But if you find yourself on one of these hate-filled channels, and I don't care if they're talking about Charlie Kirk, but if every other word out of their mouth is F, if they call women the B word, if they call women, if it's a lack of respect, if you're on a channel that is about hate, you're the problem. That's a vote. We live in a world where views drive everything. They will intentionally go out and print misinformation if it will get them clicks. AI Atlas is a big rock and we don't know what the hell it is. And a lot of really weird things are happening with AI Atlas, so it's worth talking about. It is an interstellar object and it's traveling faster than anything we've ever seen on Earth, right? It's going 135,000 miles an hour, which is haul in the mail, right? And it's not doing anything that a comet has done before. However, if you go and watch stuff, if you type in 3i Atlas tonight after we're done here, because I don't want to lose you, and you see what they pull up, you know what they're going to tell you? We're effed. That's the title of one of them I saw today. Another one says, this 3i Atlas is also controlling 8 other comets. There aren't 8 other comets, right? They say that I saw one that said it absolutely has a nuclear reactor inside it, which is driving its propulsion. No. None of that exists. I'm not saying that it's not real, but there is nothing out there scientific from anybody that says that it does. And if you go, well, that's a cover up, Tommy. Well, maybe. But these are AI channels. Who do you think their sources are? They don't give a crap because we're going to show up and we're going to watch. And the funny thing is, if you watch all of the 3 or 4 that I just mentioned, you're going to see the exact same clips. They'll change up the narrative, a little voice in the back, but it's the exact same clips. YouTube will be dead in a couple of years. There aren't going to be any human beings left on YouTube because it's just so much easier to get AI to do it. And they're not going to make a mistake, and they're not going to call somebody in the chat an asshat or do anything that's out of line, right? That there's never going to be any interaction because this is dialogue, right? This is what fosters connection. Well, we want you on YouTube, but good God, let's not connect, right? Let's not look at what makes all of us human. I went off about Biden's press secretary the other day. Every single time that woman started to talk, well, I am a gay, I am a gay woman and I'm a black woman. First gay black woman to, who gives a crap who you sleep with? Shut up, get to the microphone and tell me what the hell's going on. I don't need to know what your sexual preference is. But the point of woke was to make everybody uncomfortable if they don't talk about those things. Right? I've heard so many people who say, if you misgender somebody, it's assault. There are places that are prosecuting this now, Michigan being one of them. If you misgender somebody, it's an assault? What are you kidding me? I've been assaulted. I've assaulted a couple of people. I'm here to tell you, you don't do it with words. Sticks and stones may break my bones, right? Well, the problem is we start going to the sticks and stones wicked early on in the scenario. Charlie Kirk had words. Words will never hurt anybody. That dude went to the sticks and stones, and he couldn't tell you 3 things about Charlie that were real. He could tell you that the guy was a bigot. He was a homophobe. He got on a plane and said, if I saw a black pilot, I'd get off the plane. Never was said. I've had no less than 50 people send that to me and say, how can you be friends with Q and say you like Charlie Kirk when he said he would get off the plane, right, if he saw a black pilot?
Yeah, I never said that.
Never happened. I sent an email to Q talking to him about this. This is race relation stuff. My best friend's black. I said, what do you make of this? And he said, I just love the fact that I don't have access to all the info that you have. You know, he has cops there saying, you can't believe anything that you see on the internet. Nothing. Can't believe anything you see on the internet. He can't surf the net, but that's what he hears from everybody. And he says, is it really that bad? And I said, they said that Charlie Kirk, this is one of the biggest lies out there, is that he said if he saw a black pilot, he would get off the plane. So Q said, what did he really say? Right? Because there has to be some basis in it. And I said, he was talking about, he wants the best candidate hired for behind the wheel. And he said, anytime I see somebody that is in a marginalized group, who is in a position operating on me, building the building I'm going to live in 14 floors up, any of these things, I think to myself, I don't care what color his skin is. I want him to be the best candidate. It didn't really have to go a whole lot further than that because I spent thousands of hours talking to this dude. This was my best friend. We talked about affirmative action. You know what he said to me? It's the most offensive thing to him on earth. It's the most offensive thing. Actually, I take that back. The Ebonics thing is what he said was the most offensive thing to him on earth. He said when they came out with Ebonics, what they were saying is you're too stupid to learn the language that everybody else learns, so we'll just grade you in yours. That's Q talking, not me. And he said it was the most offensive thing in his life. How did we get here? We got here because the people that control information can absolutely dictate what is going to happen. And the only threat to that has come along in a really long time was Charlie Kirk, because he was ready to get in there, right? He was going to go smell the vomit. You know, if you've been here a while, you know what I'm talking about. But he got in there. He went from one college campus to another. And they told that man, this is way too dangerous for you to do. Allegedly, the last prayer, he would pray before he went out on stage. Allegedly, the last prayer said, God, use me any way you want to. That's heavy. It's heavy. There are people coming to life and realizing that keeping our mouth shut is complicit. complicit. If we don't talk about these things, if we don't say, you know what, I'm done. Woke is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I promise you, what's coming is we're going to find out that they have been funding a lot of really wild radicals on the far left with blue hair, right? And pronouns like they and them, right? And God forgive me, I want to make their pronouns punched and dropped. I won't, because I'm going to try to live more like Charlie Kirk. I'm a lunatic. Charlie Kirk wasn't. And I attribute that probably to his walk with God. If that offends you, I'm sorry. But I'm trying harder to be that person. I really am. Charlie's wife said that she forgave that man. I'd like to beat him. I really would. I'd like to get into a room with him. That said, as we go forward, right? Yes, I'll stop for this one. Martin Luther King knew he wasn't going to become an old man. Many know. Yeah. In the speech, he said, longevity is not for me. Everybody wants to grow old, but I know longevity is not for me. There are people whose missions mean so much to them that they're willing to die. Celebrating the fact that they die for that mission makes you evil. And it makes you a shithead, keep it real. But it makes you evil. You've chosen a side. That's the side you want to choose? Knock yourself out. I walked down the street here with Johnny Scoville on Sunday after we had come home from church. We had to go get some stuff on the Malecon. And we passed not one, but 2 prayer vigils for Charlie Kirk's family in Ecuador. And you cannot make an Ecuadorian citizen understand that there are Americans celebrating this man's death. It's like, honest to God, and they're very intelligent people, so don't get what I'm about to say wrong, but it's like trying to explain astrophysics to someone from Germany when you only speak English. It's so foreign that we were talking to a friend of ours who helps out a lot as a translator with us. And I said to him, I go, we're getting a lot of hate. I've had probably a half a dozen death threats in 2 days, which is up for me. I get a lot of death threats, but I've had a lot more. Honestly, I'd like to read them on the air. I don't think it's a good idea because it will probably bring more. But some of them, the way that they're written, like I look at this and I go, the Dunning-Kruger effect on full display, right? These are the radicalized left, and they can't form a sentence. None of this for them is possible. It isn't. We've been talking about Rush Limbaugh a lot, and I don't care if you love or hate Rush, but what Rush Limbaugh proved was that for 3 hours every single day over the course of an entire week, about 30 million people were going to tune into that man, right? He just had a ridiculous audience for 32 years. Why is there not an audience on the other side doing the same thing? Make that make sense to me. And the reason is they don't care. They don't have to learn. They know just enough to not know they're ignorant. Well, the guys in Hollywood vote that way. And, all the people in music are, get out the vote. Remember? Sean Diddy Combs said he could deliver votes for the Democrats. Well, that checks out, doesn't it? Honestly. Let me bring you back into a couple of things. The people on the left are saying that the right is not taking any accountability. Why would they? I'm sorry. Why would they? A man who went out and said, just come up and talk to me and make me understand your point of view. Tell me why I'm wrong. Articulate your point. That's worth dying over. Why should we take any responsibility for that? Do you know why? Because we've been taking that crap forever. We've been taking that crap forever. When they say to a candidate, you're racist, what do? They go like this, right? We don't respond to that. We're better than that, right? Screw you. I'm not racist. I don't have any hate in my body for anybody because of their birth. You're born white, you're born black, you're born wanting a different gender. I don't hate you for that. I'm just not going to let you dictate the fact that I have to live my life completely different because you want to wear a dress. It's not going to happen. I'm going to say this until everybody is sick of hearing it. Your freedom ends at my door, right? I go out in the street and you want me to call you this, this, and this. I will do that out of politeness. You mandate a law that I got to call you something. Not only am I not going to call it, I'm going to figure out a way to take up arms. You're never going to take my speech. No, I let that happen. I went on here and said grape and said all of that crap. It's not going to happen again. And I say faggot. I don't care. I don't say it as an insult. I never have. So you change the society and you change how things are. Now I got to be a different guy. I'm not a racist. I don't hate gay people. Well, why have I got to change my speech? I don't say it around anybody that I'm going to offend. I usually just say it to my brother. But you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I feel guilty for Charlie Kirk's death. I swear to God I do. I feel complicit in it. Because if I had the balls to do this from the day I started my show, maybe the hate that went to him would have got spread out among a bunch of other people. And when the boat was kicking, right, when we were having really good times before some of the explosions, we had 15, 20 channels that started because of mine. Johnny's had freaking hundreds start because of his. What if we had been spreading a message of, we're not putting up with this crap anymore? Well, then maybe all of the hate wouldn't have been centered on one person. Maybe we could have got people to listen to what the guy was actually saying. But that's not happening. It's not. You can't research any of this, by the way. You can't research any of this on AI. I didn't, but I read a great article by a guy that did. You cannot research any of this on AI. Now, Google is AI driven. Make no mistake, right? Google has an AI platform. You got to click down if you want to like interact with it, but it is just AI now that's doing Google for you. It's not the normal algorithm that it used to be. It is an AI bot that finds what you're looking for. So I went to Google and I said, I want a list of all of the people that voted against the Charlie Kirk denouncing of violence on the floor of the House of Representatives, right? It said, I can't find that. I'm not woofing you. And I said to Google, you can't find that. You can't find that. You can't go to C-SPAN. You have access to every computer on planet Earth and you can't find me that list. Don't tell me that the people that designed that didn't want it that way. And then what it did is it spit out a list of 7 names of people that voted against it and 5 names of people that voted that they didn't want to be there. And I said, you found those names. I want a complete list. It took 5 tries, 6 tries. And then I asked it, I would like a list of people in Hollywood that have tried to blame this on the right. It said, here's a list of people on the right that have been blaming this on the left. I swear to God, this is the truth. That was Google. I love everybody. I'm going to love you a lot less if you turn on ABC again for the rest of your life. Maybe this doesn't mean to you what it means to me, but I got news for you. We outnumber them. If we get up tomorrow and go, screw you, ABC, and I'm not talking about not watching Kimmel. I'm not watching anything on that. I don't care if the only news source on planet Earth that is covering the apocalypse is ABC. I'll just wait it out and see what happens. That's a vote. Do you understand? That's a vote. You go on to that platform now and you watch anything and you are voting for the side that chose evil. Right? Don't hit me with the free speech thing. This isn't free. What company keeps a losing product? It doesn't happen. You manufacture anything and it doesn't sell, you stop manufacturing it, except the Jimmy Kimmel Show, right? Or any other left-wing piece of crap. And it's left-wing. I'm not being hateful. These are left-wing ideologues. They're no longer comedy shows, and all of them are this way. All of them. So I asked Google, I said, the people that designed you lean in one direction, do they not? Your answers have to be slanted because of that. It said, yeah, no, they all lean left. Didn't even BS me. And then it gave me a list of 60 things that are being done to try to level that out. Well, I got news for you, right? If you come here, you're hearing my opinion. I've done a lot of research. I try to look at both sides of the equation. I'm here to tell you right now, if you really want to know what I am politically, I'll tell you right now, I am a JFK Republican. Everything that man did in his platform, today he'd be called right-wing. Back then he was a Democrat. I love liberalism when it comes to how we treat people, but woke isn't liberalism. That's why Bill Maher's pissed off. And guess what? There's a lot of Democrats pissed off. Bill Maher's got balls. He sees the hypocrisy and he's not going to take it for a paycheck. He'll get canceled, at least by his people. I'm sure he's already hated. He's done a show with Tucker Carlson. He's done a show with Charlie Kirk. This is a guy who sat down across from people that he agreed with nothing on. And they had a couple of drinks, right? Smoked a joint in a couple of cases because that's what he's into. He's open and honest. The other guy's open and honest. And at the end of the discussion, they shake hands. What could be wrong with that? Honestly, what's wrong with that? Can we all just agree that that would be a good thing? Huh? Or is that no longer cool, man? For real, what's up? I loved the liberal agenda socially. I think blacks should be treated exactly how whites should be treated. I think everybody ought to be treated equally. If you are 1/1000th of 1% of the population, I think that you should be able to live your life any way you want. But I'm not going to make laws that screw over the rest of the population so that you can use any bathroom you want. It's discrimination to say you can't take your penis into my 6-year-old daughter's locker room, right? At a at a health club. Yeah, call me a racist or a bigot or whatever you want to call me. For real. Because if you think that that's normal, there's something wrong with you. And it's not by birth. It's because you spent way too much time listening to people tell you that's correct. I am 6'2", right? I weigh about 225 pounds. I am 55 years old. I'm not a young man. If I went into women's boxing tomorrow, I'd be a fighter. Think that's fair? Like I would be a contender. Do you think that's fair? If you do, you spent too much time listening to the BS. Well, Tommy, they should be able to compete. Great. Get a trans games. Let trans women compete against other trans women. Level playing field. Men and women aren't built the same. And anyone who's ever had sex probably figured that out. And I'm not meaning the equipment. We're harder, right? Women are softer. I love that. But our bodies are harder. They're nastier. We have more testosterone, which builds bigger muscles. We have faster, what they call fast reflex, right? Stuff in the tendons in our muscles respond considerably quicker because we used to hunt, right? Well, you guys hung out at home and sort of nested. That's how it used to be. Now it's obviously not that way anymore. But now, if 25 people in the United States decide that they want to be women, in spite of the fact that they weren't born that way, they can compete in any sport they want. And there was a guy who I absolutely thought was one of the coolest things ever. He showed up to a women's weightlifting competition with a beard to his stomach and said, I identify as a woman. And he did it to prove a point, right? But he went in there and crushed everybody. It wasn't even close. And he wasn't a professional weightlifter. He's just a guy that pumped a lot of iron. There's no comparison. There isn't. There are statistics out there, and I want you to look them up yourself because I'm going to get so much hate for saying this today. So you do the research on this. I have faith in you. Do the research on this. Check how many or what percentage of people who identify as trans have either considered or attempted to kill themselves. Committed suicide is another word that YouTube loves, right? Can't say suicide, right? Because nobody kills themselves. So we'll just demonetize you and not get it out if you say that. Can't say rape because people don't get raped. Can't say sexual assault, right? That doesn't happen. You know what this is? It's 1984. Well, forget you. I'll make it. I'm telling you, I'll make it. One way or the other, I'm going to make it, but I'm not going to censor myself. And don't you let them censor you. If you let them tell you that 1 + 1 = 3, then what comes next is going to scare the line back crap out of you. I promise. I promise. And you go, that could never happen. Really? Because I saw a debate where a woman said, a man can give birth. And they were having a debate. A man can give birth. How's that work? Well, she was born with female equipment, but she identifies as a man, but didn't fix the equipment, right? So she gets pregnant as a living as a man, but with the biology of a woman, she gets pregnant. Now a man is pregnant and can give birth. No. Hard no. 1 + 1 = 3 is the end of the book of 1984, right? When they're breaking the protagonist. They're beating the crap out of him. And he's got to give in, right? He's got to forget everything that was happening with that woman. And that 1 + 1 = what? And when he says 3, Big Brother knows he's 1. How about a man can have a baby? A man needs discounts for tampons. Am I mad? Yeah, I'm a little pissed off. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little pissed off. Here's the thing. This is just the cork getting let out. I've been pissed off for a decade and a half with this garbage. I just didn't have the courage to say it. I was too worried about clicks. I was too worried about people hating me. I don't care anymore.
I don't care anymore.
It's my man. He's a fairly dangerous man.
Right.
Keep it real. We're all pissed. Put a 2 in the chat if you're angry. Put a 2 in the chat if you're angry. You want to hear a good one? So you know what cis is? Cis is when you're born with a penis and you're happy about it. or you're born with a vagina and you're happy about it. That's cis. And now it is an insult, right? Especially if you're a guy, cisgendered white dude. Oh yeah, we're hated. But I got news for you. You want to hear a good one? There is a gender. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. I had to read it 6 freaking times before I could understand it. There is a gender that goes something like this. You're born a man, right? But you know in your heart you're a woman. And you want to transition to being a man. Wrap your dome around that one, Johnny Scoville. Can you get that? So I'm reading this and I can't debate it. I'm reading it. And I want to go, can't we just skip a step? Right? Why do you have to have that you're a woman in the middle thing? You want to transition into the body that you were born in. Miss me with that crap. You just want to be part of the cool club. That's exactly what you want. You want to be part of the cool club. China has a vested interest in destroying our country. It's the other superpower, right? There's only 2 superpowers now. Russia isn't a superpower. I don't care what anyone says. They got nukes. You know how many countries have nukes? Crap loads of them. Crap loads of them. France has got nukes. Pakistan's got nukes, which is terrifying. Hey, thank you so much. You know what? You can't know what that means on a show where I start talking about woke. I mean it. That kind of support helps because this thing ain't going to make $1. But I'm not going to stop. Woke is a cancer. You hear me? If you associate and you say, I am a woke individual, reach out to me so you can explain to me why that's good. You can explain to me how this concept is furthering humanity. What you have to say to believe in woke is, I'm willing to destroy a lot of the future of America because about 3% of the population feels like we're not treating them well. Miss me with that crap. What's that? Yeah, miss me with that. Like 2 feet to the left. Miss me with that. I'm not a hateful person because I say a man by definition has a penis. One that wasn't manufactured, by the way. Talking about one that God gave you. Right? Blitz says, I am a woman. Good. I'm a big fan of women. Hey, you know what? I appreciate you, man. I really do. Thank you. Or you know what? I shouldn't say man. I do that all the time. Did I misgender? I'm sorry. What's that? I'm already canceled. It's too late for that. Why is the trans movement relabeling us? Because they hate you. You know what they call you? Swear to God, you know what they call you? Breeders or bleeders. I'm not making this up. I researched it. I wasn't going to bring it up either because it's just so disgusting. But within that community, women who were born that way, you're called bleeders or you're called breeders. You're goddesses, every last one of you. For real. And don't let them steal from you, right? That which you worked for. Think about it. Go back 60 years and look where women were. They're putting you back there. Oh, Woman of the Year, Bruce Jenner. I'm sorry, what's she calling herself? Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner, right?
Caitlyn's my cat.
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. Cindy, thank you so much. You look great in green. You really do. Deborah, I have been saying we are living in the twilight zone or upside down world for a while now. So happy to hear common sense. Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate that. Cindy, thank you. You look great in green. Debbie, thank you for the support. We have been living in the twilight zone. The only problem is this. I have always been of the firm opinion. What's that? Yeah, I've always been of the firm opinion that sometimes we get a little off course. Want me to give you some examples? There was a time in the United States of America where we believed in eugenics. So if you were born and you weren't perfect, you should be killed. And if we continue to do this, the eugenics movement in the United States, Margaret Sanger, the left lover. She's do a little research before you love Margaret Sanger. But she was a big proponent of eugenics. And when you start killing people off because they have Down syndrome, or you start killing somebody off because they're not, they're born with a hand that is deformed or whatever, where does that stop? They wanted to clean the gene pools. Does that sound familiar to you? Because there was a dude in Germany that did that crap a lot. That was his whole thing too, right? Racial purity, all of that garbage. You realize the mutt's the healthiest dog on the earth, right? Because they don't interbreed all of the problems. Right now, unfortunately, we're mentally in the same condition. The Dunning-Kruger effect. The people that are turning this country and this world upside down can't explain to you why they're doing it. They just want to be a part of the cool club. And I'll tell you, For all you lefties who hate me, you know who I blame for this? Newt Gingrich. I'm not kidding you. Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, Republican, right? Right-leaning Tommy. Newt Gingrich, when he became the Speaker of the House, and the way he became the Speaker of the House is absolutely fascinating. If you do a little research on that, he found out that C-SPAN didn't turn off the cameras at night. They just pushed them up in the air. So there was a live feed going on all the time that just didn't show anything. It would have either the ceiling or it would have the podium, but there's nobody there. So Newt started going in there at night and acting like the hall was filled and just ranting. But he had a new deal with America. And you know what the new deal was? We're not going to work with the other side. That's right. The Republicans really hammered this one home. I'm sorry, it's the truth. You can research it. Great book by it. I think Greensburg wrote it. Can't remember the exact name of it right now, but it's something about the red and blue America or the making of the red and blue America. But the first election that they ever put a red or a blue up on a screen, right? Red being Republican, blue being Democrat or liberal and conservative or however you want to look at it. The first time that ever happened, does anybody want to help me with that? You guys remember? Because if you're as old as I am, Blitz, thank you so much. If you are as old as I am, you probably remember the Hanging Chad, right? You remember the Hanging Chad? This was when John Kerry was running against George Bush, not the old man, right? Who was married to George Washington, but the other one, the son. Sorry, I couldn't let that one go. Come on, tell me his mom didn't look like she should be on a $1 bill. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Barbara Bush looked like she should be on the $1 bill. Anyway, the son was running against John Kerry. That was the first time that they ever put up a red and a blue state. Good start too, isn't it? Perfect. The first election that was so contested that when it was over, half of the country didn't believe that that man ought to be president. And more importantly, they had somebody to blame. Right? All those sons of you-know-what's in the red states, those are the ones to blame. None of us are red or blue. Don't let them paint you a color. Because if they do, you're going to start hating the other color. I don't hate the Democrats. I hate for every single thing that they're standing for today. Today. I hate it. I'm telling you, John Kennedy, I loved that man. I loved his platform. But by today's standards, he's wildly right-wing. And I'm not making that up, right? Do some research on it. Look at one of the biggest tax cuts in history came under John Kennedy because he happened to believe that if you cut taxes, businesses invested more, that creates more jobs, that creates more tax revenue. Holy hell! What a great idea. Truth is, it doesn't create more tax revenue. It creates the exact same amount of cash revenue as if you tax the crap out of them. But one of those two things doesn't create jobs. So the people that get hurt are the people at the bottom, not the people at the top. That's right. Al Gore v. Bush. That was the first time that we saw that red and that blue crap. And since then, we've chosen sides. And the sides have been colors. Ever see the Bloods and Crips? One wears red, one wears blue. And you can get shot for wearing a blue shirt if you go wandering into the wrong neighborhood, just like you can get shot for wearing a red shirt if you go into the wrong neighborhood. You go into prison and you got red on your shoes, they take them. You go into prison, you got blue on your shoes, they take them. You're never going in there with a color. You find guys would take, like they'd see a magazine shot for polo red and they'd put it up on the door because it's just a big red thing that says polo on the bottom. And they'd come in and yank them, pull them out because you're banging. You're trying to cause fights with the guys who were blue.
Parking assistants in Ecuador, where we're at.
You're right. The parking assistants in Ecuador.
I thought they were the Cali. It was a good laugh.
When we first got here, we're from a time and a place where if you carried a rag in your pocket of a specific color, they were a gang. And when we first got here, Johnny goes, man, have you seen all the dudes walking around with red rags? Hey, Relatable Reese, good to see you. I said, yeah, man, there's a lot of people here. He goes, what do you think? The blue is the Crips, correct, Debbie Zito. The red is the Bloods. I said to Johnny, I go, what do you think? He goes, you think it's gangs? And I go, it could be. I mean, it's going to be a different thing here than it is there because these guys aren't Bloods. I promise you that, right? They kind of don't fit the normal right demographic for what am I saying? I'm not playing those games. These guys are Mexicans, and they tend to be a lot less Mexicans in that gang. Tends to be a lot of black dudes in that gang. There are some Mexicans, there are some white guys, but it's predominantly a black gang. Same with the Bloods and the Crips tend to be heavily African American gangs. And I don't hate anybody for saying that. Does it make me a dick? Can I even say that? It's 2025. Can I say black?
You just did.
Okay. Just checking. Another rant. Will they create a blue pepper? Don't get my brother going, man. For real. Dude's scary. I'm kidding. He's not. But he was. Boy, there was a time. We've let them divide us, right? For real. How many people did you know that hate people because they got the vaccine or hate people because they didn't? That's not an accident. That's manipulation by media. And the proof of that is Jimmy Kimmel is getting his job back with a 1.6 market share. Do a little research and see what a 1.6 market share does to anybody else. You're fired. I don't care what you're doing because they can't sell advertising. But here's what's happening. Companies are running ads on his show knowing no one is seeing them. Why? Well, we went over that on yesterday's show, didn't we? They want a score, right? A GSM score. They want a score that shows that they're woke as hell because then they can borrow international money at 6% instead of 15%. This is a plan. And it didn't start with the United States of America. It started with the United Nations. I don't know if you guys ever play those shoot 'em up games. I don't. I never have. It's just not my thing. But when Spanx Calhoun was a kid, he had a game, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was a first-person shooter game, and he was playing it. And I said to him, why do some guys have blue helmets? He goes, that's the UN. I said, shoot all of them. Trust me, it'll work out better in the long run. If you think the United Nations has America's interest at heart, you should go and do a little research. They have a thing that they want done by 2032. And if you read what they want, the idealism always sounds fantastic. We want to treat every single person so that they never feel anything other than happy and safe and pink rainbows and all of that crap. Well, that's great, right? Until I walk into your women's locker room at the gym and tell you, hey, relax. I identify as one of you, right? Scratch my beard a little bit, yeah, and whip out my junk. What are you, intolerant? This is by design, because if you get the whites hating the blacks, right? If you get everybody fighting, do you know what you need? You need a government to protect you from the people that want to hurt you. A bigger government, right? A more intrusive government. What happened after Oklahoma City? Well, we started to give up our rights. And it felt good, right? We were doing the right thing. For God's sakes, they just killed a bunch of kids in a daycare center. Of course you can listen to my phone calls. Audra in Denver, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Every single time they get an opportunity, they take a little more of your freedom. They take a little more of your freedom.
That's what it's about.
It is. I promise you it's what it's about. One party wants larger government. That would be the left. One party wants smaller government. That would be the right. And the only one that gets it right, in my humble opinion, this isn't a fact, those two things are. The right wants much smaller government. They want the government out of your bedroom. They want the government, and you go, the government out of your bedroom, right? So you can sleep with anybody? Yeah, but the Democrats want laws that make it so that you can sleep with anybody. No one's getting arrested for having sex with another man. No one's getting put in prison for that. But they need more than that. Right? We need to elevate them for all the times we've treated them like crap. You ever watch Family Guy? There's a great episode where Quagmire's dad goes to a bar and he's watching porn. What he's watching is his son, right? Who's tied up or whatever. But the bartender goes, you can't watch porn at a bar. There are rules against that. And Quagmire's dad, who is transgender, said, no, but I'm transgender. And the bartender goes, oh, no, you can do anything you want then. Don't worry about it. Go ahead. That's our world. That's our world. Woke says, I'm going to live any way I want. I'm going to go read to your kids in elementary school, but I'm going to wear a thong. And if you don't let me, then you're a bigot or a homophobe or whatever you want to call it. I go with American. Never been a time in the world where an American would be happy with a man or a woman in a G-string reading to kids. I'm not gay, right? I wouldn't want a chick in a G-string, right? A stripper out of any place coming to read to my kids dressed that way. Why would I want a transgender person to do it? Does this make any sense to you? If it doesn't, stick around because I am just getting started. I swear to you, you have no idea what's coming. Because I don't do Dunning-Kruger. You hear me? I don't. I'm going to chase down every single thing that needs to be chased down. And the people that are dog crap are going to get called down on it. So first First mission, right? Don't turn on ABC. Don't accidentally turn on ABC because who knows, man? Maybe they're doing sweeps that week and don't watch any of it. If you cannot live without watching The View, then watch it 2 days later on YouTube. Don't give ABC 1 minute of airtime. That's real. That's real. And I got news for you. Do you know why he's going back on? When he got pulled off, it was affiliates in the United States that said, you got to get rid of this guy. Because their people were calling them going, you got to get rid of this guy. But all of the people live in New York, LA, the big cities. But middle America is America. The cities are freak shows. I'm sorry, I'm not being disrespectful, right? But the cities are freak shows. And they're trying to spread their message through Hollywood, through media, through everything, social media. The thing to watch in this Charlie Kirk assassination, in my humble opinion, is going to be all of the stuff that got deleted the day of that shooting. All of the Discord servers that he was in, all of the people that were super aware that this guy was planning something. That's complicit. I'm telling you right now, if I knew my son was getting ready to do that, I would turn him in. Evil is evil, right? Evil is evil. And I want to tell you something. A lot of you may not have ever really experienced it face-to-face. I spent 13 years around a lot of people that were no joke evil. I spent 40 hours a week staring into the eyes of Drew Peterson, right? He and I had a job where we were at a desk together in an office in a prison. And I spent 40 hours a week with that jackwagon, staring him in the eyes. And do you know what? He was evil. He was. He was an evil human being. What is frightening, what is terrifying, is that the people who are being radicalized on the far left, I'm not talking about your Democratic neighbor, right? If they're not condemning what is happening right now, get away from them. For real. And don't be bothered by people going to hell. Seriously, don't let them bother you. What, too far?
Not for me.
You know what? I'm having a good time.
I am too.
I'm having a good time. Because I've been pulling punches for 4 years.
Oh my God.
Not anymore.
A decade.
You thought I was going to say he didn't do it. Well, I'll tell you something, Pokemon. I don't buy the theory. And again, I'm ashamed to say this. I really am. But I'm so used to a conspiracy. And look, I spent 13 years locked up. When you spend 13 years locked up, one of the things that gets passed around from one inmate to the next over and over again is every conspiracy theory on earth. And the reason is you're locked up. You can't really do anything. However, legally, you can do a Freedom of Information Act as an inmate, and they got to let you do it either 4 or 6 times a year where you can do a FOIA. And guys would come up and go, hey, man, have you done your FOIA for the year? Because I'm researching the JFK assassination. Have you done your FOIA yet? Because I'm researching what happened in Oklahoma City. And I promise you, a whole lot of what you've heard is BS. I'll tell you something else right here. The heroin problem that we had in the United States that then translated into this pill problem that we have now, we had that problem because the Central Intelligence Agency runs drugs in our country and has from Jump Street. When we were in Vietnam, we had a heroin problem. What do they have in Vietnam? Heroin. When we were helping the Contras in South America, we had the biggest cocaine explosion in the United States and the crack epidemic. What do they have in South America? Blow, crap loads of it. Then we went to Afghanistan. What do they got? Biggest poppy fields in the world. All of a sudden, my $300 gram of heroin went to a $65 gram of heroin in 3 years. The CIA brings dope back from wherever they're fighting. They sell the money. Then they can take that money and go do whatever they want. They don't have to, get down on their knees and beg. That's not what you thought I was going to say. And beg the people in Congress to give them money. You see, anything over a certain amount of money, you got to go to Congress and tell them what you want to do with this. Central Intelligence Agency doesn't like telling people what they're doing. It's their defining characteristic, right? They all want to be James Bond. And what they want to do is, look, if you go back through history, we're going to cover all this. I promise you, I'm trashing everybody. I'm trashing everybody because there's nobody clean.
Don't trash me, Tommy.
You know what, dude? Watch your step. You could be trashed. It's a dirty game, especially in the cities. It really is. New member, looking good and green. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You know what? That looks like Katy Perry. That cat looks like Squirrel's retarded little sister. Can't say that word, can I? Here we go again. I was 15 minutes away from the Oklahoma City bombing on the day of. Would that be the 20th of April or was it the 19th of April? I can't remember, but it was one or the other because it's usually always around Hitler's birthday. Doesn't that seem odd? I don't know. Maybe they just want to blame white folks. You know, if this happens on Hitler's birthday, it's really easy to say it's just a bunch of wacko white people. Let me tell you something in case you never heard this. There is literally more than half of America, including tons of people who do news for a living, will tell you that Donald Trump said after a rally that there were great people on both sides. And they came out and said he was talking about the Nazis. The next word out of his mouth was, of course, I'm not talking about the white supremacists. That was the next sentence. Are you aware of that? That's the truth. Natalie Strausser, thank you so much. Look, hey, a lot of people are turning green. Natalie, thank you. And since I do want to look just as cool as my brother, tell your husband I said hello as well. She was a Manx. I didn't have her anymore, but she was so cute. Oh, I love Manx. Johnny and I had one. What was that cat's name? We had Jerry. We had a great Manx, a really, really cool cat named. He wasn't very bright. I mean, by way of full disclosure, we used to come home and he'd be stuck in the carpet with his claws. We'd come in and he'd be, God only knows how long he was like that. 19th, it shook me out of bed. You know, the reason that I asked that question is, funny thing happened to me on that day. I was wiring at a business that my mother owned. I was putting in a ceiling fan, right? And at the time, I had a pretty vicious drug habit. Go figure. Jerry Newman's voice. Well played, Pokemon. Well played. So I'm wiring this thing up. And we didn't have cell phones back then. Didn't work that way, right? So I had a digital pager. And what that meant is it didn't just vibrate. You could actually put a text message across it. Like if you talked in, it would just tell me what it said. And usually it was drug related. It's the only reason I had it. So I had it in my pocket, but I'm standing on a stepladder putting this thing in, and it went brrr and started vibrating in my pocket as I'm twisting two wires together. Now, obviously, I didn't get shocked. In fact, I had the power off, but it scared the crap out of me so bad I fell off the ladder and almost broke my hip. If I had done that same fall today, well, it would have killed me today. Yeah, it would have killed me today. It really would have. Your 14-year-old is a Manx? I love it. Why else have one? Jules, right? I mean, honestly, you were either a doctor or a drug addict, right? Or a dealer, right? And what did you do when you called your dealer? 911, 911, hurry. George Floyd and Charlie Kirk had the same birthday. Well, you know what's really funny? George Floyd was a fentanyl addict. He did porn films earlier on in his life, and he was passing a $20 bill that he had made on a photocopier the day that he got arrested. He had enough fentanyl in his stomach to kill me. And I'm a junkie. Like I'm a hardcore. I was in it for 30 years. I could not do the amount of fentanyl that man had in his system. My gut says he probably ate one or two to get high. And when the cops started doing all the stuff, he ate whatever else he had on him. He started saying, I can't breathe in that car. I'm not giving a pass to people that put the knee on a guy's neck for 5 minutes. I think that's
in situations when you can't breathe, you can't talk.
Yeah, usually when you can't breathe, you're not talking well. But I'm not giving anybody a pass on this. I'm really not. He also worked as a bouncer with Chauvin. Amazing. But we named a street after him, and there's a huge mural painted in there, and they have statues. And we can't even get Congress to vote to say that what happened to Charlie Kirk was wrong and that there shouldn't be any more political violence. They didn't have a problem telling us all we were assholes who were born racist. When George Floyd got killed, they turned him into Martin Luther King. He was a degenerate. I'm not sorry. I'm telling you the truth. And if I had died in the midst of my addiction, I would have been too. Right? If someone had shot me coming out of a bank, they sure as hell wouldn't have put up street signs. But good marketing, right? Press. How about the guy standing in front of burning buildings who said, hey, we're at a peaceful protest and miss me with this BS, man. Miss me with this BS. Where's Charlie Kirk's street? Huh? Where are we erecting Charlie Kirk's statue?
On Chase the Heat.
Yeah, Chase the Heat will do it. To be really honest with you, I'd kind of like to see it done on George Floyd Avenue. And I'm not racist. But as a society, if you're deemed racist because someone has a movement called Black Lives Matter, which, by the way, I'll bet you nobody ever went to the website of. But one of the first things it said on the website is, one of our goals is to abolish the nuclear family. No mom, no dad, none of that. What could go wrong? Huh? You know what percentage of men I knew in prison didn't have a father? I was a freak show to have a mom and a dad that raised me my whole life. Freak show. Well, honestly, probably 4%, 5%. If Q ever gets out, that's what he wants to do. He thinks that the biggest problem with planet Earth is that black men don't have any fathers raising them. You know what? Barack Obama said that in a speech until he became president, and then literally did a pivot and never said it again. I liked him before he got elected. I liked Trump before he got elected this time. But somebody pulls the strings, and when these guys get into office, all of their lofty ideals are gone. Barry Seal, absolutely. I did not, let me rephrase that. I did not see the movie American Made. However, I know a tremendous amount about Barry Seal. There's a couple of fantastic books written about him. And, you know, that was another cat that we allowed to deal drugs. He was allowed to deal drugs. He could go out and party and get arrested, and they just get him out of jail. It happened multiple times. We are a very screwed up society. We have sided with evil. That's it. It's evil. It's evil to spend $6 million a minute that you don't have. That is literally evil, because you know it ends in war, right? Or you know it ends with a collapsed society, or worse, you're able to keep this BS going and your grandkids get stuck with a bill so large that you can't get out of it. It's evil. It's irresponsible, and it's evil. And both sides are completely cool with it. A change needs to happen, and it can start right now. Do not watch ABC ever again. If you believe in what I'm believing in. Dreaming of blue skies and sandy beaches. I don't want to bum you out, but that's the view out this window. I attend a lecture. They said that 80% of everyone on death row was in the foster care system at some point in their life. Absolutely heartbreaking statistic, and I am not at all surprised. But Black Lives Matter, right? Everybody got a t-shirt. They thought it would be a much better world if we didn't have mothers and fathers. I don't know how that even works. What do? You just, like Scientology style? Well, you're a Thetan, get out there and raise yourself, that kind of thing. Takes a miracle for those people to make it. I know one. Why didn't Protect Charlie is mind-blowing? Yeah. We are at a crossroads. I'm going to be a loud voice. I feel a lot more confident doing it. I'll be really honest, because I wasn't real popular in the US anyway. But here, everybody here gets it. They've never had an indoctrination arm like Hollywood, or an indoctrination arm like the 24-hour news cycle, or an indoctrination arm like a university that doesn't give a crap if you learn anything. Why are these people coming out uneducated? Because the only thing they want to tell you is how bad one party is versus the other. Do a little research and find out what percentage of people in media call themselves left-wing versus right-wing. It'll terrify you. Do the same thing in academia. Do the same thing in anything where our kids are involved. Lenin, and I don't mean John, said, give me kids when they're 6, right? Give me a kid at 6. Watch what I can do. All right, people. I love you guys. It's not all bad news. I promise you it's not. We're on the winning team, and there's more of us than them. But we've kept our mouths shut because, in theory, right, we're the people. We're the group of people, right? Those in the good say you turn the other cheek. Those in the good say you don't kill somebody because you don't agree with their speech. Those in the good say you don't, judge somebody based on the color of their skin, whether that's for hiring or calling a name. It's still racism. The definition of racism is when you decide something in advance on somebody based on the color of their skin, their gender, any of these things. Aptitude, right? That's all we're looking for. I want the best people in the jobs. To say I'm sending somebody out because we have too many white people, there's something so jacked up with that, people. It is. It's racism. And for people to say white people are inherently racist, inherently, you got it from mom and dad, right? You get it with your first diaper. You're already a racist. You come out dropping N-words and you have to be trained out of that. You know what? There's no science to that, but you heard every asswagon in the entire world on the news say that through the entire process of the Black Lives Matter debacle. And it was just that. And God forbid you said, hey, white lives matter too. they would literally lose their mind. Does that make any sense? Tell you what it means. It means if you're white, your life doesn't matter. Not in their eyes. Why? Because if we can get you guys to hate each other, man, you're just too close. If we can get the whites and the blacks hating each other, you're gonna need a government to protect you from your enemy. We'll make it bigger. We'll have cops on every block. We'll do away with the Fourth Amendment. So if we think you're doing something wrong, we just come to your house whenever we want, knock on the door and say, hey, we're with the secret police. We're in here to search. Think that sounds crazy? It happens at the decline of every society. We don't write this thing now, we're in deep trouble. Between now and the next time I see you, I hated Donald Trump's speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial. I thought he made an ass of himself, if you want to know the truth. I'm sure some people are going to be bummed out by that. I don't think you get up at a memorial service for somebody who was just assassinated and brag about whatever your administration's doing. It was low budget. How do you like that? All right, people. I have a cat that just simply will not put up with anything other than pampering. Check this out. I'm Tommy. And that thing right there is a lazy animal that should be in a basket. However, she just doesn't get the memo anymore. All right, people. I'm going to be back tomorrow night.
Some more.
And we'll offend some more people. Get a couple more death threats. I'm done not talking. All right. See you on the next one. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support. I am humbled. I mean that. God bless you all.